Yes, we can see.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss target approaching tactics. So, many times on LinkedIn or other social media, I frequently get questions like, how do you approach a target? What is your methodology? What checklist do you follow? And etc. like this. So, all those questions will be answered in this as well. So, apart from knowing practical knowledge of of a target, of bugs and the target, theoretical knowledge about how to approach a target is also important. As you all know, no wars are win without a strategy. So Rakesh has already given my introduction, so I won't be wasting much time in it. I have also given my social media links here, so you can contact me any of this. Okay. So the first question, what is target? So if it depends on basically which pen testing you are doing. There are many various kinds of pen testing. The most popular one is web application pen testing, and the one which we are going to regarding which we are going to discuss right now. But the basic thing about target approaching remains the same. Now web application pen testing, the target is web application. In IoT pen testing, the target is IoT. In Android pen testing, in your target is Android. Okay, so whenever a web application is given, each and every web application is different. So should your strategy remain same? That is not the case. Many people follow monotonous checklist and strategies, but I don't do that. I have a kind of flexible approach, and I will be showing you that, so that hope you can find your own flexible methodology like that. It is always better to be flexible, because you don't know which functionality you are going to get and which functionality you are going to not get. So you don't have to stuck anywhere like that. Okay. So regarding of being flexible, even if I am asked that if what is your basic approach of a website, I would say this. So we all know Recon. Recon consists of footprinting, subdomain enumeration, URL param enumeration, port scanning, and etc. etc. So first and foremost step mine is always Recon. Then try to find exploits for all possible vulnerabilities found during Recon and reporting it. Like for example, sensitive data exposure, or if I get any open ports, then also I can exploit them. Then low hanger bugs, mainly like no rate limiting, failure to invalid session, weak reset password link. The reason why I do low hanger bugs first is because they don't take much time, and there are many people to whom duplicates bother. I'm not one of them. I don't get bothered by duplicates, and you know that if you are going to report low hangers in the first, or if you are going to report low hangers in the maximum, so you are going to get a duplicate. So these low hanger bugs have higher chance of duplicates. So if you are a person who gets depressed or demotivated by duplicates, do not hunt for low hangers, I will suggest. Then I go for technology and service bugs. Example, Jira vulnerabilities, Cisco vulnerabilities. Now the reason for this service bugs are they are generally more critical and easy to exploit. Okay, like Cisco has a three P1 vulnerabilities, two part traversal, and one file delete vulnerability. So if I get a Cisco SA panel, I have got three P1 vulnerabilities easily. So that is why first analyze what different technology and services are being used in this in your target website, and then find those vulnerabilities. So after that, I go for authentication and session management bugs, like broken authentication bypass, then session fixation, and all the issues related to them. I find them. Afterwards, from the URLs and params gathered in Recon, try reflected XSS, open redirection, SQL injection, etc. param based bugs. So obviously, this don't go in one linear way. While Recon is going on, this my I am reporting low hangers and finding doing manual testing for authentication and session management bugs. And once the recon is over, I already have this information of URL and params that I have gathered. So what I would do, I would just find reflected XSS open redirection. Now there are many methods, you also know that you can find reflected XSS via tools, via manual, via query balancing, and many different methods are there. So it doesn't matter which method you choose. I generally used to prefer the query balancing, the manual method. Then I started using Dalfox. It is genuinely a nice tool, because at first didn't use any much automated tool. The reason was that they generally give you false positive and are mostly waste of time. But Dalfox isn't like that. It definitely gives you a valid ones pretty nicely. Well, there are some false positives too, but that isn't the case. So now I use Delphox. Open redirection you can hunt normally, no need for any tool. Okay, SQL injection, SQL map. So I perform this kind of vulnerabilities on URLs and params gathered and also sorted via GF. Then I hunt for stored accesses, SSRF, command injection kind of bugs which require manual testing. Now, this kind of bugs require you require to understand the functionality properly, where the input is. Test one by one input properly, that what you are injecting. For example, I am injecting XSS code, and how is it taking it? So that is what you are going to test. Okay, so that is why that is why this is it is on the 7th place. Now if you are thinking that where is RC and all, they are already covered in this trying to find exploits for recon part. The reason is that mostly RCs are from open ports or from the service bugs here. Okay, and apart from that, if you are finding RCs in manual, that would be if you are uploading anything. So the manual testing, the remaining RCs which are shell upload, if there is any unrestricted file upload and you are able to upload your shell, then that part will be covered in the 7th part as well. Okay, so these are tested. Afterwards, I test for business logic bugs like IDOR, CSRF, parameter tampering, and interesting account takeovers, etc. Why this is at last? Because this require peace of mind and also a proper observation and time to do that. Okay, so if you are going to, like, you have got a new private invite on a Bugcrowd or a HackerOne anywhere, which is going to start in some hours, and if you directly take on to do business logic bugs, then it would not be the best thing to do, because if you do low hanger first, there is a chance of getting bounties easily from that. Okay, once you have captured all the low hanger bounties, you can move on to business logic bugs, because if you are taking time in finding these bugs, other people are also too. Okay, and the 9th one is GitHub Recon. Personally, I keep GitHub Recon as my 9th part, because this generally doesn't set anywhere in my methodology apart from the recon. Obviously, I use Git Docker, but even after Git Docker, you have to analyze all the codes manually and all that thing. So I find that personal training, so I keep that at last. Okay, so this is my basic approach on how I will approach any target if you give me. But will this be remain same? No, many factors affect this, and I am flexible with this. So let us discuss some factors which will affect this, and as well as how to be flexible with that. So my basic approaching you have seen. Now let us these are some different factors which affect, like how old is the target, are third party bugs out of scope or not, what are the different functionalities available, authenticated or unauthenticated testing, what is the scope of target, are automated tools allowed or not. This mainly affects from the information given in the program brief or the structure of the website itself. Okay, so how old is your target? If it is a new target, as I said, always try to report low hangers first, easy bounties. There was one program in Bugcrowd which I was invited just recently. I reported 3 low hangers, and all of 3 of them got $150 each. So it was just a walk of 5 minutes, and you can get easily bounty like that. Okay, and if it is an old target, of course, do not bother to hunt for low hangers. Maximum chances are of them getting duplicate. Instead, focus more on business logic bugs. Old target generally have maximum of duplicates, unless and until you are finding some interesting finds or logical finds. Okay, so focus more on that. Do not go for, because it's not like if you keep on reporting here, you are going to hit a bounty like you do in if a target is new, right? So follow this method. Just change if you, depending on how target is old or not. Now for Bugcrowd or HackerOne, we generally know if the target is old or new, because the date is given on which it has started, the program has started. But how to look on the VDPs, etc. So in that case, there are some policies like who keep that last updated on the whatever date they have updated on. So from that also you can know if it is a new or old. And if you can't if it is not given, just follow whatever steps you are following. No need to change in that. Okay, since you already don't know how old is the target. The next question is, are automated tools allowed or not? Now, many programs do not allow automated tool, because automated tools definitely make noise on the server, and some of the target servers won't be able to handle that much noise. So that is the reason why some of them have kept them not allowed. But since you know that our recon part is based on our automated tools for gathering information, and as well as exploiting some of them, so it would basically be a big hindrance in finding them. But should it stop here? No. You should have a secondary set of recon methodology, one which uses passive methods. Okay. So now, if allowed, follow the normal recon strategies and tools you use, and if not allowed, do not use automated tools. Use dorks and passive method for recon, and focus more on manual testing. So what are passive methods? There are two methods of recon: active and passive. Active means that you are connecting with the server and you are making a direct request, and there is a noise in the server, right? But in passive method, you are gathering information without interacting with the server or the authorities. Okay, so focus more on passive methods, using docs like Shodan Docs, Google Docs, finding whatever information is publicly available, basically footprinting. Okay, so focus more on this part rather than doing the port scan and etc. other things. Okay. Then apart from that, it won't take much time, since most of our part methodology has been reduced. Then focus more on manual testing, because that is what at the end will give you more bugs. Okay. Then what is that scope of the target? Now this is one of the important thing to discuss, because personally I like this target. Anybody would, because this star means it is a wildcard domain. It means everything is in scope, all subdomains, all IPs, etc. everything is in scope. Okay, so you have a huge scope for hunting. Also start hunting on subdomains first, if the target is old. Even if it is old or not old, it is a saying that subdomains are generally less secure than the main domain, and personally I have also experienced that. So it is always to start hunting on subdomains. Okay. So start hunting on subdomains, you will get valids, and targets like this have higher chances of getting valid, because you don't know which subdomain is a new one, which subdomain was here still 1 year ago, which subdomain was removed, which subdomain was added new. So there is a high chance of getting valids in such target. But if your target is given like this, like they have given you a specified URL, okay, this is one URL, this second URL, and this third URL, you are only supposed to hunt on this many URLs. Okay. So what will happen? You're mostly the recon part would be impaired here, because you don't have to look for subdomains, etc. You have a less target scope. Okay. Regarding that, then so at the end, recon won't take much time. Focus more on directory fuzzing, that is using dirt search and ffuf. You can easily focus on that. They give more then give more time to manual testing. So after you have got sensitive information from ffuf and etc., you can give more time to manual testing. So the better thing is to switch to manual testing if any kind of things occur. Okay. So for that, you also have to stay updated to the manual techniques, and keep reading new write-ups. And many people find interesting finds, and they post write-ups, and they are actually very informative and give you new insight in finding new bugs in that functionality. Okay. Are third party service bugs out of scope or not? Okay. So third party service bugs, what are they? So the ones we discussed, Jira bugs, Cisco bugs, these are all mainly third party service bugs. As what is a third party service? If you ask, it is just that the main target is using a certain functionality of a different service provider. Like Jira has its own Jira instance, Cisco has SSL VPN, so SSL VPN, so it is using that one. So like that, if it is using third party service bugs, and if you find, no doubt they are easy to find and easy to report, but generally you will get out of scope. Okay. And negative, so do not bother hunting for them. First hunt for and if it is in scope, so that means if it is not out of scope, first hunt for these bugs as they are generally critical, as we discussed. Okay. Then what are the different functionalities? It generally defines on different functionalities, like what you have got. Focus on functionalities it have, like special functionalities. Let's say OAuth. Not each and every website has OAuth, but if there is OAuth functionality, I will hunt OAuth misconfiguration first. There are 3 bugs in OAuth misconfiguration: pre-account takeover, CSRF plus account takeover, and insecure redirect URI. So I would hunt for them first rather than going for other functionality bugs which are more common. So this is how you should perform that one. Okay. Now we have discussed different factors of how it affects. Okay. How your methodology is affected by different factors, how you should be flexible regarding it. This certainly helps in approaching a target, but does this helps in finding bugs efficiently and reporting it? I would rather say no. This won't help you in directly reporting the bugs. Okay, like efficiently finding the bugs. If you ask, it will just give you a proper flow. That okay, if this is there, I don't have to do this. I have to do this. So on a bigger aspects, you now know how to approach a website. But what is more efficient to find bugs? So let's go back. Okay, so let's go back to the first again this question: what is a target? Okay, what is a target? First I asked this question, again I am asking this question. Consider functionality as your target rather than your whole website, and test everything you can on that point. Okay, so what people generally do, they consider a whole website as a target. What I am asking you to do, to consider only one functionality as your target and test everything that you can, everything that you know, test on that part. Okay, don't leave anything. So this is what will increase your efficiency of finding bugs. Now many people follow a checklist for a website. Okay, for example, they have listed that I will first find XSS, I will first find open redirection, then this, then this, then this. Checklist. You don't have to follow a checklist. Okay, what you can do, you can make one for each and every website. I don't have to make a list for different functionalities. Once I see a functionality, I understand that okay, this I can do on this point. I don't have to write it anywhere or anything. But many people would be new. So what you can do, you can just write it in a place that okay, I have got a auth functionality, what I can try, just write it them and test them and check them out. It would be a better thing. Okay, now you are given a functionality like this, a forget password. So what all things you can try here? Can anyone tell me? Hello? Hello? So yeah. Anyone?
Yeah, we can hear you. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat section in the middle, or if speaker is asking some questions, you can answer by unmute your mic.
Yeah. This is the most common functionality. Some answers that how, like what bugs you would find in this point. Forget password.
No rate limit, we can say.
Correct. No rate limiting anymore. Okay, so let me give you, these are some bugs which I try. No rate limiting, password reset poisoning, weak reset password implementation, open redirection, HTTP parameter pollution, logic bugs that lead to account takeover, SQL injection, course misconfiguration, and SSRF. Okay, so these are all things which I try on this endpoint. So how can you know this? Like okay, if I see a forget password, I know that I will try all this. But since someone is new in the field of the bounty, they generally tend to forget what they are learning. Like if they are learning pretty fast, they have learned today no rate limiting, then password reset poisoning, then SQL injection, then SSRF. They keep on forgetting. Okay, day or two before I have learned this no rate limiting and I have to try it. They only focus on the things they are learning newly. So for those beginners, what you can do, you can make a notebook and write it like this. Okay, so my target is there. Well, if I get forget password, I will try this. Then I can check them. Okay, this I found, this I didn't found, this I test, this I didn't test. Okay, all these you can tick mark and cross easily. And similarly, second functionality, move to the second functionality, OAuth misconfiguration, then think what you can find here and write it down and find them. Okay. Similarly, many functionalities are there. Just make a list and try check them one by one, so that you won't miss any bug, and as well as it will increase your efficiency in finding them. Okay, like if I'm working on SQL injection, then I will try to find SQL injection with any method I have. If I am working on no rate limiting, I won't just stop if it is not there no rate limiting. I will also try bypasses as well. So this is the thing you have to do. Now, one topic by mistake I left here: authenticated and unauthenticated testing. This is one more classification on if you are looking at a target as a website. Okay, so authenticated testing means like there are many different websites in which you can log in, you can create an account and go, and there are some in which you can't even create an account, or there is a login page but they are only allowed for the specific people, or the company authorities, like that is there. So that is considered as an unauthenticated testing. Now, most of the bugs we learn easily or find easily are related to the session and authentication bugs. Okay, so if it is removed, great part of your the bugs we find is removed. So do you have to stop that? No. So if it is authenticated, go with the normal flow, and you can also be able to hunt authentication and session management bugs as you wish for. Okay, and if it is an unauthenticated, then focus more on recon for sensitive information bugs. FFUF dirt search is your best friend in this case. There was one target which gave swag, and I found only one bug via FFUF and etc. So that target was pretty secure, and I found a debug information at one endpoint. So I reported them and they gave me swag. I posted it on LinkedIn, and many people asked me for the program and I gave them. But some days later they come to me that how did you find bug? There is no login page, or I'm not able to find anything here, like that. So one more guy came that he also got a swag from that, but what he did was he got it via GitHub Recon. So these all things that you have to focus. If your authentication bugs are not there, you don't have to stop there. I have seen tendency in people many times, they just stop if there is no login page or sign up page, or don't hunt on targets like that. One of my student asked me, got a private invite, and he got a like this only unauthenticated testing, and he just tells me that how I am supposed to hunt on this program. There is no login page, but there is more to the bugs that you can find on a website other than authentication and management bugs. Okay, so remember that people generally forget this because those are the common ones. Okay, so these things we have discussed. Thank you, everyone. Any doubts? Let me just check the chat. Yes, correct, hosted injection. So anyone having any doubts? Live hunting. Okay, live hunting online. I need to do some. Okay, let's try. Give me some target.
Rajit, can you share some of the recon or anything with using your terminal? Something, it will be good since we have time.
Okay, let me check.
You can choose any target.
Yeah, just give me a target. I will tell you what I do.
Okay, action.com.
Action.com. Okay, so there are pretty limited functionality, or I have to open one site. Okay, let's do Italia. Okay, now first of all, if I get a search bar, I always try IDNF and check out page source. Where is it? Or you can even do inspect if page source is not there. For this endpoint, page section header 16. I got 16 result, and IDNF how it is written. It is written as a whole. Okay, so let's try our first and foremost basic common payload. Okay, it is a Cloudflare, so it will be hard to get a XSS here. So let's try what directly on the recon part. Okay, so I have my own script which I use to find bugs. Okay, now it has four tools, four different tools. Let me just show you. Okay, so you can see here there are four different or five different parts of this subdomain enumeration, because if one subdomain is not found by a single one, you can simply get it by the other domain, and I combine them, all of them, by ANU. Okay, so since I'm, what should I do? Should I do one command one by one, or directly run my script and show you? Whatever you prefer.
Audience, you can tell your suggestion, like how you want to see it. Feel free to interact with the speaker so you can clear your doubts.
Okay, one is saying run your script, one is saying one by one. The final vote will give it all. Okay, let me just give you one by one, so it will be also better to explain that what tools I'm using. Okay. So the first command I used is subfinder. Now, what is this command? I am doing the recursive action.com. I think I have copied. No, sorry. Okay, action.com. I'm specifying my domain. I'm getting from all sources. Then threads I kept to 50, so it don't make much noise on the server. Then I'm keeping the output folder as subdomains.txt. Okay, so whatever output I get, I will be stored. It will be stored in subdomains.txt. I'll just make a directory so that. Okay, so I will store all the content here. These are already started, so I will just move it later on. Now I have got 214 subdomains. This is from the one source, so I will just move my subdomains.txt output file to this action. Okay, now the second command is amas, which I use. From emas, you can predict you, it is also passive hunting tool. I mostly hunt on passive, because when you do passive recon, it will get over pretty fast, and afterwards you can check valid or not once you have got them, and I will show you how. So the second I am storing in sub1s.txt. Okay, and the third sorry, apart from this, the third I use asset finder. Asset finder will directly store in this file. Okay, if I'm using an output file here, it will just store it directly, and I don't need to keep here action.com, and then I am giving subs2.txt. Okay, so asset finder is working side by side. This is also working. Okay, this is also done. I will move sub one to action again, and this time I'll go to the folder. Okay, so it is also done. So we have subdomains.txt, sub1, sub2.txt. So let's check that how much we got from this asset finder. Word count -l subs.txt. Okay, so 132 from asset finder, 194 from this AMAS, and 214 from this subfinder. So if I have to combine all of this, I have more to, but let's keep it till here for subdomain enumeration, so we can discuss the further part. Okay, so if I have these three files and I have to combine them, there is a tool called enu. You can just use cat star subs.txt. Star means it will get all the subs star.txt. It means like it will get sub1.txt, sub2.txt, sub3.txt. Okay, so subs star.txt. Okay, then I will enu subdomains.txt. So what does this command do? It gets all the file, all the lines or the subdomains that are unique in this files and paste it in this subdomain.txt file. So now your subdomain.txt will have all those subdomains which it don't have, but sub1 or sub2.txt would have. Okay, so these are all the subdomains which there were not in subdomains.txt but were in sub1.txt and sub2.txt. So let's check what is the final size of subdomains.txt. It became 234. So we got 20 new subdomains. Right now, it's not necessary that all of these subdomains are valid. So what you have to do, you have to probe them. Okay, so the simple thing you are going to do is you are going to use httpx. I can directly use it. No. Okay, so in this, I have to do get subdomains.txt httpx, and I am going to save it in -o probe.txt. Now many people use -mc match code 200 or show content length, show title length, but since I have to use this further, it's better that I don't have any extra information, only the URL patterns. Okay. So till here, any doubts, anyone? Okay, there is one problem in Kali Linux. What do I do? What I do after installing Kali in VirtualBox? What exactly? What issue is there? You have to tell me. Otherwise, I won't be able to figure it out. So, anyone, any doubt till here? Okay, I've got the probe.txt. Now what I can do, I can use the search in another target, and I can also enumerate the other things of the port scan and etc. On the different targets. So you can do recon parallelly. Let's check it out. Action the search. Okay, so for this there are many different factors. So what we are going to use, we are going to directly input our file. Okay, so for a file we can use L. If you are using normal URL, you can use -u. If you are using directory file, then -l you have to use. Okay, so dir search -l, we have probe.txt. In this you have to give the target in this URL format. you can't give in the subdomain format. Okay, and let's check that how many subdomains are actually valid from the 234 we got. 68, only 68 are active, all others are inactive. So that reduced our target or filtered our target a bit. Okay, then hyphen e is used for extensions that we are going to what extensions we are going to use, php, sql, etc, etc, we can use. Then hyphen I means what we have to include, so I can use 200 and 403. Why 403? 200 means okay and 403 means forbidden. I generally like to bypass 403 status codes. There is a tool that you can use, you can check out my write up to 403 bypass, restriction bypass. So by first I have to find that which endpoints are actually forbidden to do that. Okay, so I use hyphen I means include the status code. Then hyphen w word list, I have to use, I use one micro one list, sorry, one list for all micro txt. Okay, now it has started. One by one it will test each and every url. How many percentage are there? There are 50,000 payload in each, so that and total there will be 68 job. So whatever information you get, it will be presented here. So this is how I will do the search, and side by side I will do Nabu. Now, what is Nabu? Nabu is a port scanning tool. Well, Nmap is also there, but Nabu is pretty fast, and well, it does give false positives. So you have to always cross verify it with Nmap command. Okay, so let's just do cat subdomains.txt, and just afterwards you have to give bar and Nabu. Simple this command, and it will start doing on each and every subdomain. You don't have to input one by one subdomain. Okay, this is how you can perform. So any doubts still here? Keep the open access. I can just request it. Okay, see here, we got this information. We have on each subdomain, it is generally showing 8080, 21, 443, 1723, 8443, 85, 554. So 21 is pretty common. Can anyone tell me what is 21 port used for? I have to cross verify this as well. But since out of the 65,535 ports, it is already filtered, and I have given that these ports are open by Nabu, but there are generally false positives. So let's check on one subdomain. Let's take click.action. It is telling 80. So I can specify which port I have to look for. 80, 554, 554. Wait, let me just zoom so you can see my command. 8080 is generally used as a proxy port for different services. Mostly chances here are it is being used as a Cloudflare service. 8080 and 8443 also. 21, 443, 1723 and 8443. 1723 and 8444, 8443. Okay, and then I will specify my target, the subdomain on which it is given. Okay, so it is showing 21 open FTP, 80 open HTTP, 443 open HTTPS, 5543 RTSP, PPT HTTP proxy. See, I told it is for HTTP proxy, and 8443 HT alt. Okay, so if FTP is open, let's check out anonymous login. So I will just click FTP this, and let's see if we are able to if there is anonymous login open. Now what does anonymous login means? That FTP has generally creds like anonymous and anonymous. If you are able to connect it like that, there are certain privileges to an anonymous user, and if those privileges are that he can read the internal files and modify them, so it is a vulnerability. It is considered as a P1 vulnerability because you can simply log in and change their internal files. Okay, so any doubts in this part, the port scanning part? So port scanning, I use two tools, Nabu and Nmap. Both I use for port scanning. For fuzzing, I use DirtSearch and sometimes FFUF. Okay, so any doubts, let me know. What should I make it? What should I make public? Okay, you drive link. Let's check this out. Get update, sudo apt-get update. Try sudo apt-get update. Okay. Okay, so here we have got some 403. Any 200s? No, no 200. So we have got some 403. Here is one DB access log. Let's check this out and try to bypass it. Now, generally on a website, what happens that if this is a website and this many 403 are there, if one 403 is bypassable, mostly all of the 403 will be bypassable. And if one is not bypassable, no one will be bypassable. Okay, so you have to just try only one from each subdomain. You don't have to go and try each and every one of them. Okay, so let's take config.inc. Let's take this. What is it? Okay, so here is a bash script for bypassing different methods for bypassing 403. So simple command is there. I have to see bypass 403, then I have to give the URL, target URL. What is the URL here? Okay, bouncesaction.com. I have to give slash, and afterwards the endpoint which is given as 403. Okay, the endpoint which is given as 403. Then try it. See here, it will tell you the status code and the size. Now depending on status code, you can check. It is showing 530. What status code is this? If it is, if you are not sure that what it is, just open the URL. If you get 200, open the URL. If you are get some unusual status code, open the URL. And if you get 403, no need to check. It is still not bypassed. Okay, so this is 530. So copy link address. Okay, origin DNS error, so we can't do anything here. So these are different methods that you can use to bypass, like double slash percentage 2e config.inc double slash and this. Okay, these are all methods. Rather than trying it manually, they are all tried by this bypass, like this bash script. They all test it one by one. Okay, here 00 status code is and byte is 0, so no need to check this and this URL as nothing would be here. And okay, no 200, I guess no 200, yes, no 200, only 403 and 530. 530 is DNS error, and 403 is forbidden, we all know that. Okay, so these things we have discussed. Now if you want me to discuss whole recon in my batches, we take 2 batches. In that there are 2 parts of recon: basics recon, advanced recon, and each one of them would take around more than 2 hours. So it would be hard to discuss each and every part of the recon here, but I have given a gist about port scanning, the search, subdomain enumeration, then valid subdomains probing, and as well as the bypass 403, how to bypass it. So I hope this is all clear. Any doubts?
Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask now. We are going to end today's session. Feel free to ask your queries. I have one question, like what are all the unauthenticated methods we can add?
On unauthenticated methods. So
Yes.
on unauthenticated methods, first you have to do is this. Sorry, you have to do this dir search, and then if you get 403, what you have to do, you have to bypass it. Try to bypass it actually. So one 403 per subdomain would suffice, as everything we are getting, every sensitive endpoint we are getting 403. Okay, then port scan, subdomain enumeration. Okay, there are also some different types of unauthenticated testing, like only main domain is unauthenticated and only that is in scope, like the URL one. And if all the subdomains are in scope, then you can do the port scanning together, and if not, you can do a simple single subdomain port scanning by echo command in Nabu. Okay, echo the subdomain google.com, let's say google.com, and just Nabu. So these are the first part that you have to try while doing unauthenticated testing, and most of the vulnerabilities you can easily find at this point. Then after that, any third-party services you have to look for, like SSL VPN, etc. Okay, if Jira is there, if there is very rarely a case that if there is unauthenticated testing, there is a Jira instance also in that. So though you can just look into the subdomains for them. If there is a Jira, try for them. Then afterwards you can move to the GitHub recon, since most of the part that is covered. Then maximum unauthenticated websites have contact forms, so you can try no rate limiting on contact form, memory corruption attack, which you can call it basically. Then blind OS injection, blind XSS, all this you can try at this endpoint. Okay.
Okay then.
Can we get your script for automation? No, it is currently private, so I can't share it, and I am daily updating it. So if it is at a point that I think it is proper, I will surely upload it on a GitHub and share. Okay.
Any more questions, guys? Prajit, let me share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Can you see the screen?
Wait. Actually, I can't. It is just a black screen.
Anyone, can you confirm? Can you see my screen?
Okay, now I can see.
Yes. So, guys, I think after today's session, you got more about target approaching tactics. So they do having a course, bug bounty training, beginner to intermediate. So you can check out their website. I will share the links. Here I'm posting it. So if you want to enroll, you can after reading all the reviews and feedbacks in their LinkedIn profile and Instagram profile as well. So these are all the course topics they will cover in this course. This is one of the most affordable course as 1200. Since we partnered this event, so they are offering it for discount price 1150. The actual cost of the course is 1,200. So if you want to enroll, you can tell this promo code root Texas and you can enroll. They are working on it by registering in their website itself. So you can check their Instagram handles for the updates and the previous achievements what they have come across. So here is the link. You can check out their website as well. So it's super cool where you can get the report templates and many more things. You can see the reports and reviews, tools, etc. So it's up to you. So if you want to enroll, you can use this code to enroll. That's it. Shruti will conclude the vote of thanks for today's session. Thanks, Pradeep.
Yeah, thanks. There is one question. Where to learn about vulnerabilities and some good resources. So Buckprod University Medium is the best place that you can learn. I suggest that follow the big creators, or if you find any interesting write-ups, do follow them and learn from them. You'll definitely learn from them. And Buckprod University, they have explained things pretty well as well. From that, Portsugar also you can look. Portsugar has explained the websites, as well as if you want to try the vulnerabilities, they have labs as well. Okay, so you can try that as well on the labs, that Portsugar labs. So these are some places that you can visit and learn. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Prajit. Yeah, I'm Shruti from the Root Stack core team. Thanks, Prajit, for the amazing session. I hope all the participants were benefited and learned something new. Know how a series of knowledge sharing sessions or webinars in the cybersecurity domain to educate others, spread awareness, and bring out new opportunities to beginners by the an initiative by the Root Stack team. So our goal is to bring out as many security researchers as possible and give clear guidance in the cybersecurity domain. Then the recording for today's webinar will be uploaded in our YouTube channel within 2 days. Make sure you subscribe. Guys, do fill out the feedbacks that is being shared during this session, the feedback forms. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll be conducting knowledge sharing sessions every week. Let's see you all in the next event. Do support us. Join our Telegram group to get all the resources.